the Doctor. He's here.
Nick, I need your help. It's to do with Demon's Run. I'm preparing an army, and I need your help with one thing very, very important and very, very specific.
Oh yes, Doctor. What do you need?
Well, my friend, I need you to review A Good Man Goes to War. Do you think you could do that for me, please?
Okay, Doctor. I'll get right onto it.
Excellent. You're a great friend, my good friend Nick. Thank you very much. Right, I must go now.
Goodbye.
Okay, goodbye. Woo! Geronimo.
Right then. Gonna get myself ready. Here's the title sequence.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Doctor Who Series 6, Episode 7, A Good Man Goes to War. The mid-series finale, the end of the finale to Part 1 of Series 6, and the last episode before the near 3-month gap, as Doctor Who took a break from, I believe it was the 4th of June to the 27th of August 2011, so it was nearly 4 months, and pretty much most of the summer. So yeah. So this ends part 1 of series 6, and wow, what a finale to part 1. This is a absolutely fantastic episode. If this was a series finale, this would be the 6th awesome finale in a row for the new series, and 8th overall. Since season 25. But this is not a series finale, this is a mid-series finale. This ends the first half of the series before the break, and then the next half of the series follows that. So, A Good Man Goes to War. The plot of A Good Man Goes to War is that Amy has been kidnapped by this organisation working with the Silence. As we find out in the Time of the Doctor, it is the Kavarian chapter of the Church of the Papal Mainframe, which is actually referenced in this episode. So these guys have kidnapped Amy and her baby, Melody Pond, and are trying to take Melody away to raise her and then develop her as a weapon against the Doctor. And it turns out that Melody has regeneration abilities and is part human, part Time Lord. This is due to Amy and Rory conceiving the child on their wedding night, which of course was on board the TARDIS. So the child was conceived on the TARDIS. This was only the first one. Anyway, so since then, let's call them the Kavarian chapter. The Kavarian chapter have been working hard since then to make her more like a Time Lord and to be more of a weapon against the Doctor. As we find out in the next episode, Let's Kill Hitler, to become his ultimate psychopath murderer, assassin. But we haven't got to that bit yet, so at the moment we've just got Amy and Melody on Demon's Run, and they're trying to take Melody away, whilst Amy is just being kept there. This seems to be a thing with the Silence, where they just, or at least with the Kavarian chapter, where they just kidnap Amy and just keep her prisoner for no reason. Yeah, I guess because they know she knows now that she can't go back to her normal life, so they kind of incarcerate her. Plus that they suspect the Doctor is on his way, so that maybe they can hold her hostage or something. I don't know what they're planning to do with Amy. But in the meantime, the Doctor and Rory are recruiting people to team up with them to go and rescue Amy to fight at Demon's Run, after an awesome bit with Rory confronting the Cybermen to try and find out the location of Demon's Run. Which, by the way, this is the first story to introduce the new this new chest designed on the Cybermen, where they lose the Cybus Industries logo and it's just a kind of a roundy one that we're going to see in this series and a little bit in the next series. So yeah, that's interesting. It's and the roundy chest, the roundy symbol in the chest rather than the Cybus Industries one. This could imply that these Cybermen are indeed from Mondas, not Parallel Earth. And Neil Gaiman next series actually thought this was a good theory and thought that the two would team up to create the new Cybermen, new race of Cybermen. With the 2013 designs introduced in Nightmare in Silver. But more on that when we get to that episode next series. Towards the end of next series, we've got quite a long way until then. We will have another Sideman story before then, though, later this series, but again, that's later on. So, after Rory confronts the Sidemen, and it is a shame that they didn't team up to go to Demon's Run, but then again, after basically most of the Legion was wiped out, maybe they didn't want to. By the way, again, like with Pandoric Opens, they've got the Sidemen ship designs from the Invasion back, so that's a nice little piece of fan service without being in your face, unlike fan service later down the line in this era. Thank you, Moffat. Anyway, the Doctor recruits Madame Vastra and Jenny, a Silurian and human couple who / investigators. Vastra is basically a Silurian investigator in Victorian London, and Jenny is her human maid / lover. Although, whilst there are definitely hints to their relationship in this episode, it's not directly stated. It's just kind of hinted at. Well, yeah, it's a bit more subtle in this episode than it is later down the line. And then we've also got Strax the Sontaran, who is a disgraced Sontaran and has therefore been forced to become a nurse. Not sure exactly what he did that dishonored him from his clone batch, but eventually he got he just became a nurse. And despite him not being a fan of being a nurse, he definitely revels in it, and he definitely just says stuff that would be typical Sontaran, followed by don't forget to do this and that because I'm a nurse. Like when he's talking to Captain Harcourt at another battle, he's telling him, "Oh, I hope we meet again so I can destroy you for the glory of the Sontaran Empire. Try and get some rest." That's actually really good. And considering how this is a funny character, Strax is a very funny Sontaran. However, in this story, he's playing it a bit more straight as opposed to, again, later down the line where he gets more comedic. But yeah, it was fun to have these characters introduced and to team up with the Doctor. And finally, Dorian Moldover, played once again by Simon Fisher Becker, is recruited by the Doctor to help with his job is sort of to scan everything and do all the information booking. He doesn't really do much of the fighting. He's more there actually to set up what can happen in the finale rather than being his presence here in the first place. But oh well. No sign of any characters from before this story being brought in to help the Doctor. So I guess they were a bit busy. In fact, Captain Jack Harkness was originally supposed to be in this episode, but John Barrowman wasn't able to film this story as he was busy with Torchwood, not Children of Earth, Miracle Day, Series 4. Which was a shame. It would have been fantastic to see Captain Jack once again. I don't know where in his timeline it would have been. Maybe pre-Miracle Day, possibly, because that series hadn't come out just yet. So maybe he was still out traveling space, and then he teams up with Doctor, and then after that, he then goes back to Earth to help out his friends, and the events of Miracle Day happen there. But yeah, unfortunately, Captain Jack is not in this story, and that would have been fantastic. Also, he would have had more to do here than he does in Fugitive of the Jadoon. Similarly, Samuel Davis in a video of his actually joked about Frobisher not being bothered to turn up for Demon's Run. Frobisher, for those who don't know, is a Doctor Who magazine comic companion who is a Withadiel, which basically means he's a shapeshift. He's an alien who can shapeshift, and most of the time he takes the form of a talking penguin, and a noir-sounding talking penguin voiced by Robert Jessup in two Big Finish audio plays, The Holy Terror and The Maltese Penguin. Had Frobisher been in this story, and had they got Robert Jessup back again, that would have been fantastic. That would have been the best. And similarly, speaking of expanding media characters, this would also have been a good story to introduce Bernice Summerfield, played by Lisa Bowerman. She would have been fantastic here. So we got 3 characters we could have had here, and it was a missed opportunity. Well, John Barrowman was not available, and the other 2, I probably just didn't think about. Oh, and you could have had so many other characters team up here. I mean, I know it's only one 45 to 50-minute episode. You need to have, and we've got a couple new characters here, plus Dorian, and we've got lots of Silurians and a couple of Jadoon. Oh yeah, we got lots of Silurians team up as part of the Doctor's army. Um, but yeah, that's quite. It's quite interesting that this lot of Silurians team up. Maybe they're with Vastra, perhaps. And a couple of Jadoon. Maybe they're in debt for the Doctor too, for helping him with the Plasmavore, or maybe that Jadoon captain's that one from that Big Finish audio play with the Sixth Doctor from Classic Doctor's New Monsters Volume 1. Possibly. You never know. It is a shame that there aren't other creatures from the other Doctor universe besides this a whole bunch of Silurians and a few Jadoon. It would have been nice to have the Cybermen here, and it would have been absolutely hilarious and exciting and amazing to have the Doctor turn up on the Paradigm Dalek spaceship, and they're just so petrified of him. He's attempt to kill him, and then he tells them what he wants them to do, and they are petrified into doing what he tells them, in exchange for being allowed to carry on as they are until their next encounter. How brilliant would it be to have the Doctor get the Daleks on his side, and then they'd be really wanting to kill lots of people, but they know they're not allowed to until the final battle, and then they can go all out. And that's if they were there for the final battle as well. How brilliant would that have been? Oh, and the Paradigm Daleks would get another usage before they were kicked out of the show. Thank you, fans. Yes, it would have been really cool to have a lot more people here, but that is not a criticism. That is just what we could have had. But who we do get are pretty good. Also, the Spitfires from Victory of the Dice. You can't help but smile when Danny Boy and another pilot turn up to help knock out the communications system. And whilst Captain Avery isn't the most likable or the most or the greatest character or the one you'd want to see back, you can't help but smile when he pops up for a cameo to take over Kavarian ship. Ah, that's why the Curse of the Black Spot was moved to episode 3. Well, or maybe they added Captain Avery here because the episode got moved there. Possibly that was even the Captain Jack cameo, and with Jack not being there, they gave it to another captain. So Captain Avery and Toby make another appearance in this episode to take over Kavarian's ship. And Kavarian and Colonel Manson, who is the big shouty colonel guy doing the big speech, are captured and then ordered to surrender and run away, basically. Yeah, there is one thing about this episode I will say. It doesn't really say why these people are wanting to kill the Doctor. River Song at the very end says it's because the Doctor makes them so afraid. But even then, they don't really give a proper reason why they should want to kill the Doctor. We're going to find out in the time of the Doctor. But even then, that is still a kind of a weak-ass answer. And that doesn't quite match up with what their feelings are here. So it sounds like instead of what we get in Time of the Doctor, where they're going back in time to make sure he doesn't ever get to Trenzalore, instead it seems like they absolutely despise him. Never mind the fact that they're trying to stop him from doing something that's not even going to do anyway if he can delay it as long as possible. But not only are they trying to prevent him from even getting to Trenzalore, but they just seem to outright hate him and be afraid of him. So yeah, it doesn't really make sense. I wonder if Stephen Moffat had a plan for this at this point, or if he was going to make it up as he went along later, and then he just decided to settle on it. I'm not quite sure. Maybe he had a plan, but ultimately it just didn't fit into place as well. This may have been due to the fact that Series 7 didn't really focus on the whole thing about Trenzalore until towards the end, and Matt Smith decided not to do Series 8, so it had to be wrapped up in one final episode. But ultimately, this it doesn't quite make sense why these people would want to kill the Doctor, even before we know why. And when we do know, it still doesn't quite tie in. But yeah, maybe it would make a bit more sense if we understood why, the motivations behind these people, why they want the Doctor dead and so forth. But that's really the only issue I have with this story. The rest of it is still really exciting, with the Doctor and company having to rescue Amy and Melody, or so they think. As it turns out, once again, they have tricked the Doctor and have swapped Melody Pond with a flesh avatar. Wonder when they went to do that. So yeah, there's also a pretty cool battle between the friends and the headless monks. Dorian gets his head cut off because he attempts to reason with them. Doesn't work. And this is where I mean where it's going to tie in with the finale, because he gets his head chopped off and put into one of those boxes that's going to pop up in the finale. So yeah, he's got quite a lot of exposition dump in that episode. But I think the only reason he was here so he could have his head chopped off, and that could be in the finale, and do a lot of exposition. Although, mind you, by that point is able to give the Doctor said exposition. Um, but yeah, there's a pretty good fight. I also like the character of Lorna Bucket, who's just there to wanting to meet the Doctor, and she defects from the clerics to join the Doctor's side, and ultimately ends up dying, but gets to die happily as she meets him one more time. And there is a great bit where the Doctor pretends to remember who she is, because he's known so many people he can't always remember. But he pretends to know who she is, and then afterwards he asks who she was, and admits that everyone he has met was always brave. Well, everyone he helped, and everyone who was on his side, I suppose. Strax also sadly dies, but as it turns out, in the Battle of Demons run 2 days later, which serves as a prequel, and a proper prequel, not a prologue, to the Snowmen. But to be honest, it's more of an epilogue to this episode, to be honest. It turns out he just fainted. Yeah. Strax survives this story and goes on to become Madame Vastra's and Jenny's butler. Okay. He's gonna get more campy though. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe they killed his more playing his funny side straight and made him more campy for the next story, and made him more of a bit more of a joke. And the next appearance of Strax is when the Sontarans start to become a joke. I mean, you could argue it's here, but to be honest, like I said, the humor is not absolutely straight, but it is played straight. He's not trying to be too comedic. It's just a couple of funny lines. But then next time, he's gonna be super silly. It's gonna be super comedic. Yeah, so I think the Snowmen is when the Sontarans started to become a joke in the series, and we'll need another story like the Sontaran Stratagem to show that they are not a joke. Just like how the Daleks basically became a joke in Destiny of the Daleks, and then Dalek proves that they are a force to be reckoned with, and a pretty deadly one at that. As Resurrection, Revelation, and Remembrance tried to, but yeah, I think the reputation was there throughout up until 2005. So the Sontarans are going to have a something similar to that sometime, hopefully later this decade, as Strax from the Snowmen, not so much here, but from the Snowmen, he has become a bit of a joke. It wouldn't have been too bad if it wasn't for the fact there's these pair of Sontarans in the time of the Doctor as well, who are also there just for a joke. And yeah, so we need another Sontaran Stratagem style story, or a Dalek style story for the Sontarans later this decade. Whether that'll be with Chibnall, or whether that'll be with his successor or their successor, or whoever, we'll find out. And similarly, I think we should have another proper Silurian story at one point. Anyway, as the rhyme says, the battle is won, but the child is lost, and this pretty much has once again, I think another piece of Amy has died again. Part of her died with the Doctor's death, and now another part has died with her baby being kidnapped. And I think this is also the first time she's lost a bit of faith in the Doctor, more so than even in the God Complex later down the series, when the 11th Doctor tries to do a 7th Doctor and tries to make her lose her faith in him. Speaking of the 7th Doctor, if the 11th Doctor had called on his other incarnations to help here, the 7th Doctor would have run circles around Madame Kovarians, tricking the 11th Doctor in swapping the two Melody Ponds around. The 7th Doctor would have anticipated that and then swapped them back round so that Kovarian had the flesh avatar and Amy had the real baby. So yeah, if the 7th Doctor was in this story, he would have saved the day. Speaking of the Flesh Avatar Melody, the hatch bit Madame Kovarian opens to when she's looking at Amy to check up on her throughout the series so far. We get one more of those for Flesh Avatar Melody, but it's suspended in midair, which I think was a bit awkward. Couldn't she have been on like a wall or something? It just looked a little bit awkward. But overall, I think this is a really great episode. I think it was really entertaining and had some really great stuff, and it managed to wrap up this first half of the series really well. Yeah, it leaves a few things still open ended, but we kind of wrapped up part of the story so far, and we're setting the stage for the next half. So, all's well, I guess. Almost all's well. I've had a few nitpicks, and the whole stuff about other characters who could have been there but weren't. That was more of a but we could have even more. That was a could have been, but not a criticism. But the other nitpicks and criticisms are definitely objective as opposed to subjective. Um, but yes, but A Good Man Goes to War. That was a brilliant story, really well done. I'm not quite sure about the Headless Monster. I mean, that's a pretty cool idea, but and a great adversary for the ending. But are they actually that necessary? To this story and for Wedding of River Song, are they actually that necessary? I mean, we've got the silence. We could even have had the silence in this episode. But, oh well, never mind, I guess. But okay, overall, A Good Man Goes to War is absolutely brilliant. Fantastic story. The performances are. This is some of the best performances from Matt Smith, Karen Gillan, Arthur Darvill, Alex Kingston in her few sings as River Song, and a couple of others supporting characters, including Neve McIntosh returning from The Hungry of Cold Blood, playing another Silurian, Madame Vastra, Caitlin Stewart as Jenny Finch, Dan Starkey returning from the Sontaran two-parter in Series 4 and The End of Time Part 2 to play Commander Strax. The return of Mark Gatiss and Hugh Bonneville as Danny Boy and Captain Avery, and the boy who played Toby as Toby. Francis Barbara also gets some scenes to chew on as the villainous Madame Kavarian, and it's actually great to see this character get a role in the story. Like Gareth Roberts, Francis Barbara is a very controversial person nowadays, but we shan't be talking about that. It's because it's a controversial topic and it doesn't really relate to what we're talking about here. But if you're uncomfortable about it, sorry. I'm so sorry. Other notable characters are Colonel Manson, Lorna Bucket, the fat guy in the fat one, Finn one, the gay married couple. Again, another strange gay joke. I don't mind gay jokes, but this one just felt a bit strange. It's the fat one, Finn one. Yeah, okay, there's a fat and a Finn person joke in here as well. By the way, I think the Finn ones are now a widow because the fat one's joins the Headless Monks. Unless the Finn one was killed by one of the Headless Monks, then he's now a widow, I guess. Sorry, mate. And that's even if you made it out alive. But okay. Like I said, the acting is just phenomenal in this episode. Just everyone puts 100% effort into it. So such effort has to be acknowledged. Oh, and by the way, we find out who River Song is. It turns out she's Melody Pond. Now that's what you call an ending. When River turns up at the very end and reveals herself to be Melody Pond, after a little bit of what we would say delay, I say stalling for time. She stalls for time a little bit, but eventually she reveals it to the Doctor and then to Amy and Rory when he goes off to try and find Melody. And she uses this the leaf that Lorna gave Amy, the name of her child in the language of her people, of the Gamma-tree forests. But the only water in the forest is the river. That's what Idris said in The Doctor's Wife. And it ties in here, and that's a nice little tie-in to this story. And it soon reveals that Melody Pond, in the language of the Gamma people, is of course River Song. So, yeah, now we know who River Song is. She's Amy and Rory's daughter, grown up, and as we'll find out in the next story, she's going to be they'll try to make the science, trying to make her an assassin, a psychopathic assassin to kill the Doctor. And yeah, so, but wow, that is how you end this. That is how you end a series, or a half series at least. That is how you do a reveal. There are a few niggles and a few questionable bits, but I still think the story is handled absolutely brilliantly. So I will be giving this story a 10 out of 10. I almost did give it a 9 out of 10. When doing this review, I was thinking, actually, it's not. I was going to give it a 10, but thinking about it, actually, maybe it should be a 9, which I believe was the original score anyway. But then I decided, fuck it, 10 out of 10. There are still a few niggles I do have with it, and that's objectively. The subjective ones are the what could have been, as opposed to the what are. But yeah, what are it's just got a lot of effort into it, and to be honest, most of the objective issues more come with what comes later, tying in with this story, as opposed to what is in the story. But still, I would have liked them to have at least hinted at why they were going to war against the Doctor. Rivers says he makes them so afraid, but that's about it. That's about as far as motivation we get. So yeah, and the reason that they're going to war against the Doctor that we get in the Time of the Doctor is not a very good one. So, yeah, we could have done something a little bit better. And why was Amy still there? I don't know what they were planning to do with her. Maybe they could have said something about what they planned to do with Amy after this. But overall, I think this is a brilliant episode and a fantastic way to end Series 6, Part 1. Unfortunately, things are going to go downhill from this point, as A Good Man Goes to War could be associated as the start of the decline of the Stephen Moffat era, at least until Series 10 at the very least, minus a few notable exceptions, such as the 50th anniversary special, Heaven Sent, and a few other popular stories from Series 6, Part 2, 7, 8, 9, and if 10's not your cup of tea, maybe there are still some notable stories for you, but maybe you won't count it in the same league as 5 or 6, Part 1. But anyway, I still think Series 6 Part 2 is still pretty good, though. I'll be rewatching it soon. I've rewatched Let's Kill Hitler in time for its review next, and then the other ones I'll get to shortly, and then you'll see what my opinions of those ones will be. But I think 6 Part 2 is still pretty decent for the most parts. So that's it from me. Thank you for watching my review of A Good Man Goes to War. And now we shall be taking a nearly 3-month break until we come back with the continuation of the Series 6 reviews with the start of Part 2, starting with Episode 8, Let's Kill Hitler. I'm joking! I'm sorry, I can't do the impression of that Italian person from Turn Left. Sorry about that. I'm joking. No, you will not have to wait nearly 3 months until the next review. You just have to wait. That time this recording is almost half an hour. You just have to wait 23.5 hours. Come back tomorrow as we start Series 6 Part 2 with the extremely disappointing Let's Kill Hitler. I'll see you guys then. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here and welcome to my review of Doctor Who series. If this was a series finale, this would be the 6th awesome before the next series, and then the next series comes afterwards. Next half, as we'll find out in the next episode, Let's Kill Hitler, to become his the psychopath. But in the meantime, we haven't quite got to that bit yet. And Series 8 would... But that's really the only issue I have with this. And then Dalek managed to show them as a force not to be reckoned with. And then Dalek showed them as the... And then Dalek restored the Dalek's honor. And similarly, I think the Silurian should come back at some point. Also, early warning, she'll be in the finale. And Colonel Mason, Manson, he's also really good. I think everyone in this episode does a fantastic performance. I think everyone in there is still a few plot niggles that doesn't quite. I was going to give this a 10, but there are a few plot niggles that kind of do knock it down slightly a little bit when you do stop to think about it. But it's still handled really, really well. So I will be giving A Good Man Goes to War a very high 9 out of 10. Actually, no, I changed my mind. I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. Actually, cut that bit. Do you remember that from the Doctor's? Remembering what? And a few other popular stories from series of 7, 8, 9, and 6 part 2 as well. Starting with episode 8, Let's Kill Hitler. Okay.
Right away, Doctor. I'll get right onto it. Here's the title sequence whilst I get ready. Goodbye. See you later. Goodbye. 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 Okay. Oh, we got the watch.
Adjust the rear bumper. I'm so sorry. Okay, we are recording. And okay. Action. Nick! Yes, it is me, the Doctor. Now, listen, I've got a job for you. Well, I need your help, basically. Yes, it is me. Excuse me. I'm starting that again. Goodbye. Goodbye. Woo! Geronimo. I'll do that one more time. Right, I think that's it.